Welcome to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters, where we bring out the professionals, experience, and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. We believe wise investing starts with a plan. And your investments may have merit, may have relevance to a time and place, but this all depends on you, your objectives, and your goals. My name is Seth Cressman, and I'm here with Ben Brayshaw and John Ryder, and we're all planners and partners with Brayshaw Financial Group. How are you guys today?
Great, Seth. Good morning.
Good morning, Seth.
Is it still morning?
It's starting to be cold mornings out here is what it's starting to be, though. Let me tell you. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, it's clear skies, and it's absolutely gorgeous here, which we enjoy a couple of weeks of this a year in Portland, Oregon. That's about all we get, right? We're glad you're listening to Money on Tap. And if you're looking to sit down with an advisor and start making some of the right steps towards your financial goals, we welcome the opportunity to do that with you. And you can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. You can also find us at Facebook, Money on Tap 3D Investing. Today, we do have a couple of things we're going to be rolling through here. But first of all, just want to mention that we're going to talk about 5 retirement landmines when it comes to your money. And in today's world, with so many factors in play, there are things that you really have to be careful of when you're investing. Of course, you can't avoid all of the landmines, right? But you need to be aware of what they are and steps to take to minimize and in some cases eliminate those dangers. But before we go into depth, I think it's time for Money in the News.
Yeah, you know, we have a publication that we see come across our desk. I don't know, what is it, once a month, guys, Investment News, and has some pretty interesting articles in it. You know, this past month here in November, there was a editorial that was written that I thought was really interesting that talked about just some of the dangers of this euphoric stock market rise that we've seen. Now, you know, years ago, as we saw the stock market just kind of take off like crazy. I remember that in 1999, 2000, and then we had the resulting crash. And then we had a market build up all the way to 2008, and then what happened in 2008? Same thing, type of thing happened where the markets really crashed. But here we are in 2017, towards the end of the year here, and we are in a position where we see the stock market kind of doing the same thing. So there's this guy who led the Yale Endowment through their
some random guy who does investments.
Small little guy.
Handles a little bit of money, David Swenson.
Yeah, he's been around for 32 years, this guy, as far as advising for the Yale Endowment. And he is very concerned. In fact, he warned in a recent speech that stock market returns over the next several years are likely to be better than 5% per year on average, or unlikely to be better than 5% per year on average. And he thought that that's going to disappoint a lot of investors. And I think that's true because think about this. We've had a lot of clients that have been very, very happy with how things have returned over these last several years. But we all know when we see good things happen over and over and over again, we know that there may be some kind of a bubble approaching. So
I actually want to go back to the part where you said that he was very concerned that the stock market might return more than 5% a year. I think that's a good concern to have.
But, you know, here we are. The current bull market is 104 months. It's not yet the longest, even since World War II. And though it has risen 263%, it's still short of the October 1990 to March 2000 dot-com bull market, which lasted 113 months and rose 417%.
I think those are the concerns everyone has, right? I mean, we have people coming through our office, referral after referral after referral. I mean, we've been busier than we've ever been, and you know, it's just interesting because I still am shocked, and I don't know why I'm still shocked. But people come in saying, "I still have money in cash because I'm scared of the market and what happened in 2008." So
better memories than we might expect.
You'd think they would be walking in saying, the last 8 years have been so fantastic, I need to get my money in there now.
But here's the deal, though. A survey by Wells Fargo this summer found that 54% of investors anticipate a market correction in the coming months, yet 61% also say it is a good time to invest in the stock market. This kind of suggests that there's not enough fear in the market, it sounds like to me. People are not necessarily scared of what's going to happen. But there's a lot of volatility out there, and there's a lot of questions in people's mind about what should I do with the cash that I have right now on the sidelines.
Well, the the fear, right? They've been waiting and waiting and waiting, watching the market go up in fear of the next coming down, that they feel like the next time they pull the trigger, they're going to pull it right before it goes down again. And they're still not recovered from '08.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some people, it's like really horrendous stories. And they're just paralyzed in the inability to take action. You know, like they're just so caught up in that. And I think, you know, I've actually was talking to a planner years and years ago, and he said, you know, I am every other investor out there. He goes, when I invest other people's money, it's fine. I can do it. No, he goes, my own money, I need someone else to do it, because
whole different story.
Yeah, I get caught up in that. Now, not every planner has that issue, you know, and so forth. But I thought that was a really good, transparent perspective. Is that, you know, you can't do that. So, you know, finding that planner that you can partner with and trust, and let them make the unbiased decision and allow them to do the investments is something that's really important in your relationship with your planner. But
right on.
This is crazy. I just, the other day with John, when those people were in our office and we were just thinking about that, I was like, you're still paralyzed from the market from, you know, like almost a decade ago.
For good reason, too.
For good reason. But, you know, I mean, at some point in time, you got to say, well, maybe I can take small steps here, you know, and that's what I said to him, was take a small step.
Yeah, take money out of one pocket and put it into the other pocket, and realize that there are some ups and downs along the way, but being paralyzed is also costing people money too. We've talked a lot about this in the past, and we'll talk about it a little bit more today. Inflation risk. If you have a lot of money sitting on the sidelines at less than 1%, and the cost of goods and services out there are going up more than 3%, there's an issue there.
Yeah, doing nothing may not be a solution to, you know, your problem. It may feel like the safest thing, but it might actually have a whole other layer of risk there as well.
Sure.
So Bitcoin.
What?
This is,
Bitcoin?
I mean, should we
What's
just,
Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Bitcoin?
Bitcoin.
4 months ago,
like
no one even knew what it was.
I feel like we should just be like, well, that's it. Just go ahead and walk by the water cooler and just say, hey, Bitcoin. And then let everybody
Seth,
start.
I pulled this article off online 2 days ago. It said that Bitcoin tops $13,000 less than 24 hours after topping $12,000 for the first time. This is very dated news that you're hearing. And probably when you're hearing this, it will be more dated. But Ben, you just said to me this morning that
yesterday it was 18 and then it dropped back down to 15.
up from 12,000 just a few days ago. So it's a crazy yo-yo for sure. Seth, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I really don't even want to necessarily try to look under the hood too much on this one. There's a lot of things that are going on around this topic, and that's why I kind of throw it out there. I mean, it's hot. I mean, there's no way. I was at Costco, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, ran into a friend of mine, and he's like, so what do you think about cryptocurrency? And I was like, let's just
dial it back.
Dot. What do you put?
I'm not making a recommendation right now.
Yeah.
I'm not
let's
making.
Put a pin in it.
you know, okay. So, you know, there's so much that we could offer about Bitcoin in a conversation here,
Sure.
but I would say that my first instinct to tell everyone on this radio is buyer beware, big time.
Yeah. Lots of fraud going on with this Bitcoin
John,
cryptocurrency.
I mean, what about, you know, tell what we were talking about earlier about the amount of stuff going on with the fraud area.
Well, you guys have all heard of Jamie Dimon, big investment banker. This guy was saying that most all of the drug trade and even North Korea are big participants in the Bitcoin arena here. And in fact, when we're looking at the security of these actual transactions that go on online, they're saying that you have a 1 in 3 chance of being hacked if you're participating in the Bitcoin.
So what's scary about this is that, you know, and I already had a ridiculous number of phone calls about buying Bitcoin in some form or fashion, an index or this, that, the other thing. And, you know, my first inclination is to tell people, listen, you don't even know what you're buying. You have no clue the amount of risk you're taking on trying to even have a conversation about this. Because one, you have a 33% chance of having your money hacked and stolen. It's not FDIC insured.
No FDIC, my friends.
Yeah, I mean, this is like and the scary part is I have a client who is a former undercover, big speaker in the drug world and so forth. And he's the first one to tell you is like the number one currency that they trade in is Bitcoin. So, of course you're going to have 33% chance of your money getting stolen, but are you going to go try to collect it from the drug dealer who stole it from you? I mean, this is not This is not a bully in the school who stole your lunch money here.
Right. Right. So I actually find it more interesting to kind of get off the topic of like what is the Bitcoin and should I get involved in something like that? And actually the technology behind Bitcoin, I think is one of those things I think it's going to be more lasting really than the whole Bitcoin piece, because it's called blockchain, and we're not even going to really get into the details there, but it was created by the people that created the Bitcoin piece, and they go by a pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. But it's now, if you were to watch an IBM commercial right now, one of the things they drop in there is blockchain, and you're going to start to hear more about that. And actually, by I think next year, I think it's going to be about 20%. That's what it is. Yeah, 2019. That's almost next year. 20% of all IoT or Internet of Things deployments are going to have basic levels of blockchain services enabled. And I think that's probably, if you're going to try to understand a little bit more about what's going on out there, that's kind of the underpinning here of why this is an interesting topic for more people than not.
But buyer beware, absolutely, Seth. I had a woman about 2 weeks ago who had been visiting her son in North Carolina. This lady is extremely conservative, 74 years old, retired for 5 years now, and she said, "John, what do you think about Bitcoin for me?" And it was just
That's awesome.
And all I could say was absolutely not the right recommendation for you. We don't actually, in full and fair disclosure, we do not sell Bitcoin. That's not what we do. We don't recommend that you buy or not buy it. But I can tell you this thing: we're telling people buyer beware on this type of thing with the types of characters that are involved in here and the fraud and all that. Something to stay away from.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
What's unbelievable is that the hardest part about this type of thing is that even some of the major trading companies, stock companies that we work with, they don't even offer some or all of the ways to potentially get involved in this stuff yet, because they're being cautious. Now, that could change by the time that you hear the show, but my best advice for people in this space, there is a huge amount of development that's going to occur. And yes, there could be some major profits potentially lost by you not investing today and racing to the market to buy it. Okay. I mean, everyone gets it. Oh, you're making millions of dollars and these people are rich, but it could be the largest bubble we've ever seen. And that's been stated by a number of different people. Now, regulation is coming for this industry, and it's coming hard. And when that hits and it becomes a safer, stronger currency, and you really can invest in it in a way that you can feel like there's more controls, that there's more avenues to address both the input and the exit of those funds. Like even getting your money out of Bitcoin can be difficult. It's a very expensive currency to process through. These are all things that have a lot of work to come. So if you're going to directly invest in that currency, taking a risk, a 33% chance of risk of your money getting stolen to boot, it's just, there's a lot of pieces in there that don't make sense for any sort of planning type of work.
Make sure it's your play money. If you're using that, make sure it's your play money.
You
not
better
your
be prepared
money
to lose 100% of that money and be like, it doesn't matter. It's just I've got extra cash, and go somewhere where you can do that. That's great. God bless you. But at the same time, there is probably a play in this here somewhere in the future, because electronic currencies, I think, are here to stay. But I don't think it's time to play right now.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. So, you know what, Ben, I'm going to mention something here that you've talked about repeatedly. And now there's somebody out there, Rick Newman of Yahoo Finance, that has found this information to be valuable. They've listened to you, Ben, at Money on Tap, and now they've created this article about the reasons why we're probably going to be looking at a national sales tax.
It takes a little bit of time for Yahoo to catch up with our thinking here at Money on Tap, but I'm glad that they're following our show.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Yahoo.
And here, folks, here it is. Here's the big thing: the national debt scene, right? Huge, and it's just ever rising. And here's one of the things that basically Rick has brought to the table. He's like, you know what? They're going to have to find a way to solve this. And right now, people are wanting to cut programs like, Social Security, healthcare. These are big consumers in our economy and out of our tax dollars. So without being able to cut those, there's got to be a way to be able to fund something that's going to support, our government ultimately, which is, a huge consumer out there of our money. So, and that's one of the solutions out there is the national sales tax that could be coming.
I think this VAT or value added tax, as they talk about it, the national sales tax concept, I think it's definitely a way to solve a lot of our needs for, creating and generating more income. But I believe the reason that is going to become a necessity is because of the amount of money going into Roth IRA kind of programs and the ability to convert and the door that the government's left open in the conversion area of Roths. That money will then grow tax-free, tax-deferred, and will come out tax-free 100%. And so now the government's allowed people to convert their IRAs and pay taxes today, and taxes are actually fairly low comparative to historical rates. If those taxes rise over the next 20, 30 years, in which those IRA accounts, those 401k accounts would have been growing for that time period, the government would have a potentially much larger taxable base to generate their income on. Even if tax rates stayed the same, having more money grown to a longer time period would have been a much bigger dollar amount coming into the government. That Roth conversion world, that's what's going to drive this, because that's the only way for them to get, once you receive those dollars tax-free, you have to spend it somewhere. And our government, the only way to get attached those dollars again would be the national sales tax. That's truly what I believe is the background driver of this thing.
You've been listening to Money on Tap. That's going to do it for us with Money in the News. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com.
Hi, my name is Ben Brayshaw, one of the co-hosts of Money on Tap. If you have questions when it comes to your retirement and are looking for a personalized solution, contact us at Brayshaw Financial Group. In today's volatile stock market, we can help you plan to find your successful retirement solution. Am I saving enough? Am I saving into the right places? Do my investments match my appetite for risk? Do I have a tax strategy that is going to help me keep more of what I earn? How can I maximize my Social Security income? If you are like most people, you are getting closer and closer to your retirement and may be wondering if you're taking the right steps. If you're in retirement, you may be wondering, am I maximizing my income while preserving my estate and caring for my family? We talk about all things financial in what we call three-dimensional investing, putting a plan around your financial future. If you feel that now is the time to start getting the answers to some of these questions for your own situation, give us a call at Brayshaw Financial Group at 855-226-8551. Headquartered in Bedford, New Hampshire, we have offices throughout New England and across the country. We would love the opportunity to show you how we can help. There's absolutely no cost or obligation just to meet with us, and we welcome you to our office. Call us at 855-226-8551.
Now back to Money on Tap with Ben Brayshaw, John Ryder, and Seth Cressman.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters. If you're looking to sit down with an advisor and start making some of the right steps towards your financial goals, we welcome the opportunity to do that with you. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. Guys, did you know that we're on Twitter?
I did know that.
Or
yes.
we tweet. You know that. You can find us at BFG_LLC and follow us there. We're going to go ahead and be posting our the podcasts as well as financial articles, some of the things that we consume regularly and we think are valuable for you to pay attention to or pick up and have a read. Also, you can find our blog at yourmoneyontap.com. Tons of interesting information. I promise you, it's not a snooze fest here at Money on Tap. We're going to have some fun. We're moving through some of these topics. But first of all, I just want to let you know you can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. And you know what? We love to solve problems. That's what we're doing here, folks. And we've got lots of landmines that we're going to try to avoid. There's 5 of them that we've articulated here today that we come across all the time in our planning with you. And we find people coming in and sitting down with us, and a lot of these landmines have already kind of been deployed. But here today, we're going to talk about a few of them. And when you come across these, give us a call. We love an opportunity to help you navigate so you can avoid them and don't have to fall into these traps.
You know what got me thinking about landmines the other day? We had a client that came into the office, actually a prospect, who was telling us about his experience in Vietnam. And in Vietnam, he had been there and was in a pretty dangerous place. He was actually in a Humvee. I guess I didn't call them Humvees back then, but he was in a truck and he saw it incoming and decided to jump out the other side. And basically the truck got hit and he was very fortunate, along with his buddy, to avoid maybe not a landmine, but an incoming rocket. And there's something very interesting when it comes to our retirement lifestyles and planning for retirement. The fact is that there are many different things along the way that can actually hurt you, maybe not as impactful as a rocket grenade coming in or a landmine, actual physical landmine, but there are some different landmines out there, financially speaking, that can really cause and wreak some havoc when it comes to your portfolio. So we're going to go through 5 different landmines, and we're going to call them traps today. So landmines or traps, we can use that interchangeably. But, my question is this. When it comes to your retirement, if you wanted to get at some of your retirement money today, well, what would happen? And that's the question I would have for you. If you have, you've done a great job saving, maybe you have money in your 401k, maybe you started up a traditional IRA, maybe you started a simple 403b. But if you wanted to get at your money today, the question is, what would happen?
Well, we talk about these landmines, and we have 5 here. I mean, this is like the maybe the top 5 out of the 500,000 that are out there.
That sounds scary, Ben.
I know.
Sounds scary. It's not even Halloween. That sounds scary.
Yeah, but I mean, there's just so many different things that we come across, and it's unfathomable. But these are definitely good ones. And this access trap, John, number 1, is a great one. And we talk about this, and I think probably the number 1 thing that comes to my mind is the terminology that we have, which is being IRA poor. And people say IRA poor. Oh, that sounds horrible. It's no. I mean, I have clients. We have clients that have millions and millions of dollars in their retirement plans. They are super wealthy people, and their biggest problem is their ability to access the funds without just getting absolutely hammered by taxes. They've paid off their homes. They don't have any bills. So every time they take something out, it's fully taxable. And I can tell you the number of times is just astronomical. Talking to people, well, I don't want to hit another tax bracket when I take out more money, and it's not their ability to have money; it's the access to it and the tax implications around that.
Okay, so the answer is, Seth, if you were going to answer the question, the answer to that question is, if you're taking money out of these plans, well, what's the problem?
Well, for me, right off the bat, it's 10%.
Okay.
And I think that's all of us, right? Right. I mean, if you ask the question, if I wanted access to this today, right away, at least for another 18 years, I'm going to have a 10% tax hit. That's the first and foremost. If in another 18 years, I mean, everything stays the same, then it's just going to be immediately, it's going to be taxable. So that's the first thing I think.
So first thing I think is taxable income. If you're under 59 and a half, you're going to be paying a premature penalty of 10%. So think about this. If you're in the 25% tax bracket, and then you decide that you need money before you're 59 and a half, you take money out of your retirement plan, you're going to be paying upwards of 35%. Let's say that you had $100,000 sitting in a 401k and you decided, hey, I need to pull out
all that money,
all of it. Mm-hmm. Well, you are the lucky recipient of only $65,000, and the government gets to keep $35,000 of those dollars.
Well, and that's looking at obviously we're talking about already having some income and so forth, and you're taking that out in addition to it.
Sure.
Assuming kind of some standard rates here. I think the thing that is the biggest problem for people is that they look at retirement plans as money that's locked up, right? And we grow up opening those retirement plans, those 401k plans, and that money's locked up. And maybe we can take a loan when we're at work for some scenario that we want to do. I want to go on a family vacation. I'll take a loan for my 401k. It becomes this kind of like overwhelming debt that then comes subtracted from your paycheck every week. And, there's some things about retirement plans that we are slowly ingrained to believe and feel as we, learn to give to them for 40 years. Or maybe 50. When you actually get into retirement, then you realize, well, I got my Social Security check, this, that, and the other thing, and oh man, every time I pull money out of my IRA or my 401k, I got to pay all these taxes. And it's just an overwhelming thing. People, it may not be a lot of taxes, but at the same time, it's their money going to the government for the first time. And they've never experienced it.
I can think of a scenario just a couple of years ago that people were trying to find, the funds to sell their property, buy a new property, looking at the IRA money and thinking, hey, that's a great place for me to go ahead and
remember that case
grab
well.
grab $300,000. We get that new house, and it was. I mean, if it was an investment property, that's a different scenario. It could be potentially purchased inside of the IRA, but this is their personal residence. Now, $300,000 comes out. What happens next is catastrophic to somebody's planning and future income base. Ultimately, is what had to be assessed at that point, because the taxes on that were horrific, and that's what their plan was not designed to support. So sometimes those are the access trap things that we're talking about, is basically pull the money out and just be prepared. It can be done efficiently. It can be done in different ways, and it's understanding those, some of what are some of those levers. And those are some of the timelines.
Those are some of the things that we have had to become very clever with clients on and help them find ways that they would not normally find. Like Seth, you were referencing kind of a self-directed IRA, and we don't actually process or handle those. But we have told clients that they're available and they can talk to XYZ, X attorney or this, that, other thing to do real estate programs and things like that maybe they want to go do inside that. But they got to create companies and corporate, LLCs. And
it can get quite complicated.
It is complicated. Yeah. I've actually done it myself, and long time ago. And, it's there's a reason, a time, and a place for it. But I would say that, when you have those needs, when you have a real concern and you're saying, hey, my IRA money is the only thing I can think to do, well, then that's when you need to sit down with a planner and say, what's the best way to do this?
Absolutely. Several times in the past, we've used different strategies, such as perhaps maybe a 72Q or a 72T, which helps people access their dollars without having to get hit with the taxes as badly. But those are sometimes decisions that you make that are irrevocable. Once you have done that, you can't back it back up and put the toothpaste back in the tube. So it's very important to make sure that you're making a good decision when you're doing that. So that is landmine number one, taxes, and certainly one of the biggest issues that we see people are facing. Number two landmine, though, is the transfer trap. Do you realize that if you have a 401k, an IRA out there, and you pass away, well, normally what you can do is you can pass that money on tax-free to your spouse, but you realize that after that, there's a large tax when we pass the money on to those in our family, those below us, maybe our kids. And, sometimes people don't have a clear understanding of how much that tax is, but it can be quite prohibitive for people. And if you have your assets perhaps in the wrong place and there's not been proper planning done, it can cost people a lot of money when it comes to taxes.
There's so many levels inside the estate tax and the transfer trap on so many different pieces from, like people say, oh, well, I'm not going to pay estate taxes because my estate's under the, roughly $5.5 million per individual. So my husband and I have almost $11 million we could transfer this year if we died. And so our kids aren't going to pay taxes, and they don't realize that your IRA is still going to be taxable at the income brackets of your children and how they receive it. Now, you can stretch it out. That's clearly the common method.
If you do that, but a lot of people are not familiar with that, and just go ahead and fill out the forms, and
if you don't do it within a certain amount of time, we talked about that, you're going to stretch it out. You might be stuck not being able to stretch it out over a lifetime for a child, but you might be stuck doing it in 5 years. Like, just fact, it is what it is. And if it's a really large IRA and your child is doing well, which, I seem to find that the person with the largest IRA, their kids are pretty smart because they were pretty smart. And
they're doing okay.
And they're doing pretty good. And
until tax time hits, right?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you got $1 million IRA with, 3 kids, and, they're each getting, 60, 80 grand on top of their $150,000 salary, plus their, spouse is working, making another 100 grand. Now they got $300,000+. They're, dealing with alternative minimum tax. They might be starting to approach the itemized deduction limitations that occur. I mean, there's some things out there that can really adversely affect. And all of a sudden, they're not just paying income tax; they're losing other dollars on their own money because of the increased income that they're getting. And that's the tax transfer trap that I think is the biggest hit.
And the fact is that money is going where you don't intend it to go. If there's a way in which you could pass those dollars on income tax free, I think you'd be excited about hearing that. And we'll be talking about those types of strategies later on. But the fact is, when you pass away, you want to make sure that your relatives, your kids, get as much money as possible from that. It might not be your kids. It might be an organization, a charity that gets those dollars. But the fact is you want to be able to keep as much as you possibly can in the family and not out of your family to the IRS.
You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Seth Crustman, partner with Brayshaw Financial Group and one of the co-hosts of Money on Tap. One of the biggest concerns and largest expenses people face today is taxes. Without thoughtful planning, taxes can destroy future retirement dollars, eliminating the possibility of a timely retirement or dreams of what you want retirement to look like. If you're like most people, you're getting closer and closer to retirement, and you may be wondering if you're taking the right steps. Will my income be enough? Will rising taxes force me to give up my dreams? How does inflation factor into all of this? These are real concerns, and you're not alone. Putting a plan around your financial future is what we do. If you have questions when it comes to your financial security, and if you're looking for a personalized solution, contact us at Brayshaw Financial Group, 855-226-8551. It's time for you to start getting answers to your questions. Headquartered in Bedford, New Hampshire, Brayshaw Financial has offices across the country. We'd love the opportunity to show you how we can help. There's absolutely no cost or obligation to meet with us. Call us at 855-226-8551. 855-226-8551.
On this edition of our Money on Tap Cliff Notes, John Ryder shares one of the more unusual questions posed to him by a client about an insurance policy.
The most bizarre question that I have ever gotten was from an assigned client. And this guy had a life insurance policy through the company in which I work. This was not a policy, again, that I had sold him, but he said he wanted to know what the suicide clause was on the policy. I didn't know the client, but it was kind of unsettling. And I was kind of like, that's kind of weird. He didn't really want to chit-chat at all. He didn't want to really talk much, but he just asked me politely what it was. Now, if people don't know this, there's typically a 2-year clause in the policy, which basically means if you attempt to take your life in the first 2 years of the policy doesn't even pay out, but it will only pay the premium back that was paid in the policy. So I don't remember what my exact conversation with him was, but in looking up his policy, he had it for a number of years and it would have paid out. So I think I said something to him about it, but there may be other solutions for him to consider is kind of what I was saying. To my knowledge, there's never a death claim on the policy, but it was really a pretty unusual question.
Thanks for joining us for this Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, with great tips from the pros in three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. Now here's more Money on Tap with Seth, Ben, and John.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. Now, if you go to yourmoneyontap.com, you're going to find that we've got a little bit of information about who we are, what we do, what is the purpose of Money on Tap. Really, our heart here is to educate, to inform, to debate. We want to bring some of the issues to the table that we find common in planning and hopefully help you to engage and answer some of those questions that you have. You can also find our blog there, past episodes of our podcast that you have something that we've addressed, something that we've talked about, or you just find that this is really good listening and interesting. We're out there for you in this podcast venues as well. And if you have a question that you'd like answered, you can just email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. Call us, even better, at 855-226-8551. That's what we're here for, is to solve problems and answer questions as these come up in trying to find your solutions to financial goals. We're talking about today the 5 landmines or traps when it comes to the retirement landmines. And we've been talking about IRA monies and how there's an access trap with that. There's also potentially a transfer trap. Now, landmine number 3, John, do you want to jump in here?
Absolutely. Seth, landmine number 3 is something that all of us are going to face at one time or another. But let me ask you this, and I'm going to ask you guys this on the air right now. When was the last time you fully read your Social Security statement? Now, I'm just going to ask you to raise your hands here and tell me if you even have done that before.
I raised my hand first. I know everyone saw it.
Okay, so check this out. Check this out. I think Ben raised his hand first. But in a paragraph...
Did you bring an apple today? Is that what you're reading on the desk?
Yeah.
On the first page of a Social Security statement, if you were to read it, there is one phrase that reads this, one paragraph. It says, in 2015, we will begin paying more in benefits than we collect in taxes. Without changes, in 2037, the Social Security Trust Fund will pay only about 78 cents for each dollar of scheduled benefits. We need to resolve these issues soon to make sure Social Security continues to provide a foundation of protection for future generations. So, the idea is this. Social Security is telling you on their statement that there's an issue and that in the future, in 2037, that as opposed to paying you out $1 of benefits, they're going to be paying you out only 78% of that dollar, 78 cents for scheduled benefits. You know what was funny back in 2011? Social Security put out a statement a while ago that in light of the current budget situation, we have suspended issuing Social Security statements. Is this who you want to trust your retirement money to? They're so tight on money that they're not able to send out statements on what your value is worth. What if your mutual fund company, what if your 401k company or your insurance company told you that they were no longer able to send you out statements because of budget constraints?
Well, this is the thing. This conversation, John, I mean, this is just one piece to a much, much larger, bigger, gigantic problem. We talk about the demographic shift. We talk about the baby boomers. We have gone through this over and over again, and hopefully people are catching on. But, we're going from 33% of the baby boomers and so forth getting retired. So we got 30 million or whatever the number is, 35 million. We're going to have in the next 20 years, 120 million people totally retired. That's 80, 90 million people retiring or getting ready to retire. They're sitting at their job right now. They're working at their desk. They're working in the factory. They're working in their corner office, whatever it is, whatever they're doing for a living, in the military, you name it, they're getting ready to retire. The largest demand on our Social Security is going to happen over the next 20 years. And those people are going to be retiring, and then they're going to be retired for 20 or 30 years, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and so the massive drain on those dollars is never going to be higher than now and in the next 20 years. We're going to have this huge, I see it as with my kids jumping on top of me and, fooling around. And, when your young child grabs your arm and you pull them up with your arm when they're really small. And then I think of my son who's, 150 pounds. He's 14 years old. He's 5'10", 5'11".
He's picking you up.
Yeah, he's that's literally the change. Our society has aged so quickly. They've become so big. We no longer can lift them up. Mm-hmm. And this problem is so much bigger than that the same thing's happening in our pension community. Remember the pension show we did about how New Hampshire was in the top 10 worst funded pensions? I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. They had a New Hampshire pension. And I'm looking at that and saying that child has grown, that beast has gotten so big that we have problems with our pension programs being guaranteed, which is why Obama, jumped in 2014 and started the pension Multi-Employer Pension Reform Act of 2014, because we need to reform these items, because there's no way, no matter how much you do the math, that the current population or the future population of working people like us will be able to support those baby boomers.
Yeah. So absolutely, Ben, one of the first problems that I kind of identify around the Social Security piece is that you've listed it well, broken system, right? And recent blog that we actually just put out, we kind of address why is this system now all of a sudden kind of becoming obsolete? And that the demographic, the story around Social Security, when it was deployed, what the average lifespan was, 55 years old. I mean, that's when people were expected to, say a sayonara, and sign off as 55 years old. And then it was, Social Security was available at age 60, 65, right? So it was kind of one of those pieces that if you made it past your life expectancy, this would kick in to help you out. But original Social Security was our children.
Yeah.
Having families and supporting each other.
When you take that thinking into context, right? If we were to say Social Security starts at life expectancy today,
right,
that would be 85 years old.
Right. Yes, exactly. And I remember growing up, like when somebody was 80, 85, I was like, oh my gosh. Like
they are so old.
Did they know Moses?
My wife's grandfather is 95 now. And I mean, that is the trend line that we're on. We're trying to support a system that was not designed to support, 35 years of, life after 65. That's just not what it was there for. And so people are currently rethinking this whole retirement roadmap. Like, what is even retirement? And because it is a new concept that wasn't really, retirement is brand new, folks. I mean, this is kind of in our lifetime stuff that we've now come to know is normal. And no problem with that. We want it, but Social Security is basically a broken system, And the fact is that up to 85% of the Social Security income can't even be taxed, depending on your income. I mean, that's another piece right there too. So that's one of the big landmines that we're talking about is taxes.
The big changes in Social Security and pensions is how they're going to be taxed, when the distributions occur, and essentially how much you get. Right. So 78 cents each dollar. I mean that John, as you read. It's a point in time where we're completely bankrupt in 2030 something. So at the end of the day, there's going to be some major changes coming. No one's going to like it. Somebody's going to probably get into office and then be kicked out after they make the changes that need to happen, unfortunately. So, yeah,
feel sorry for them, and best of luck. Hopefully that's soon, I guess, maybe. Anyways, not even going to step into that. So number 4, the tax trap. And here's something we just talked about and we've addressed many, many times is our current official U.S. national debt. Bad news is officially over. Oh, gosh, that is a number that
Can you even read that number, Seth? Can you even read that in front of you?
No, that's too many zeros. I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to say 20 trillion.
20,
am I right?
20 trillion is where we are as far as the national debt is concerned.
Yeah.
And if you guys have the time, check out the U.S. national debt clock. Google that. It is fascinating.
Just as a reminder, we did this on a show a while back, and I actually just repeated these numbers the other day. But, we compared, million, billion, and trillion in seconds. Do you remember that, John?
I do. I don't remember exactly what it was.
I'll remind you. I got it right down. So
okay.
Here, so bear with John. John's from Rhode Island. So just hold on for a second here.
Hey, John, you and me both. Buddy.
Yeah, in Oregon. And
you guys from Rhode Island too?
Yeah, no, he's from Oregon.
Okay.
I'm going to put this on my mirror when I wake up in the morning. So next time Ben asks, I'm going to be prepared with the answer.
All right. So no, but a million seconds is 11 days.
Okay.
A billion seconds is 31 years. And a trillion seconds is 31,000 years.
Ben, I love the numbers. Let me give you some new ones. Okay, so if you took $1 million in $100 bills and stacked them up, it would be 6 feet tall. Okay, so if you had $100 bills, you added them, put them all on the floor, it would be up to about how high you are, 6 feet tall. That's $1 million in $100 bills. If you took $1 billion in $100 bills, it would be 6,700 feet tall, or about 1.25 miles. Okay, $1 trillion in $100 bills would stand 1,260 miles tall for $1 trillion. Let me ask you another question, Seth. Let me ask you this question. In fact, I want to see if you're prepared for this. If it was $1 trillion, let me ask you maybe more clearly. $1 trillion seconds ago, what year would it be, Seth? If I asked you, hey, $1 trillion seconds ago, what year would it be?
It would have been negative 31,000 or 29,000.
Ben, very good, but I wasn't asking you. I was asking. Okay, let's figure it this way. Okay, so there's 86,400 seconds in a day, right? There's 31,536,000 seconds in a year. So the answer is 30,000 years BC.
Holy cow.
We can't fathom. Another way to look at this is that if you could spend $16 million every year for 32,000 years, that's how long it would take you to spend $1 trillion. So officially, our U.S. debt is
20 times that.
20 trillion, and is practically unfathomable. How can you possibly figure out what $1 trillion is.
So just to take that into scope, right? So we think of that amount of money is like a tidal wave, right? That is a tsunami of asset debt. Now, that is a major, major hole that we can't even probably bridge well. But there is a way to bridge it. And the thing that's going to happen, and that's why we were talking about the estate tax and the estate tax debt, is it's probably the only way to really muster enough assets that's not going to create the amount of impact backwards, right? Like if they raise our taxes to 92% like they were in the 50s and 60s, you know, that, and people are like, really? 1950, 1960 was 92%? Yeah, that was a top tax bracket. But if that happens, we're all going to go literally pick at the streets, because I'm not going to make 8 cents of the 100 per hour working, right? So, but the estate tax, you know, dead people don't vote. Simple as that. And they say that the entire baby boomer population controls somewhere close to $40 trillion in assets. Houses, cars, jewelry, retirement, you name it, second homes, across the board. They control about almost $40 trillion in assets. Well, it's kind of interesting when you think about the estate tax is just around 50%. 48 to 55, all depending on some various scenarios, but that's after $11 million right now. This is why that conversation in Congress is so debated, and they won't make it permanent. They keep putting Band-Aids and Band-Aids and Band-Aids because they know that at some point in time, the only way to rip down that debt is the massive amount of death that's going to occur and the transfer of those assets and capturing a large sum of it to pay it down. People are borrowing from the future to pay for our stuff today.
So the bad news is the national debt. But the really bad news is the fact that if you look at the national debt being $20,000, the real amount of the debt, when you talk about future unfunded liabilities, such as Social Security, spending programs, that type of thing, the really bad news is that our national debt is close to $104 trillion. Go to our website, guys, truthinaccounting.org. It shows the fact that because of unfunded liabilities, we're going to have a major, major problem in our country. The reason for the discrepancy between the national debt and the unfunded liabilities, which is actually probably the real number, was written about in USA Today by a guy named Dennis Caution. He wrote this. He said, accounting standards require corporations and state governments to count new financial obligations, even if the payment is to be made later. The federal government doesn't follow that rule, however. Instead of counting lifetime benefits for programs such as Social Security, the government counts the cost of benefits only for the current year. So, guys, there's really only two things that can happen here, and this is what really impacts each one of us and each one of our listeners, is the fact that there's only two things that can happen. One is we have to either spend less, number one, or number two, tax more. And which one do you think, at least in our lifetimes, is more likely?
Well, considering where the rates are, it's going to be taxed more significantly because the rates are so much lower than they used to be.
Yeah.
And my question is this. If you believe that tax rates were to go up in the future, would it be better to pay taxes now or later? If you had a leaky pipe in your wall, would it be better to fix it now or to fix it 20 years down the road when your whole foundation's rotted as a result of that leaking pipe?
Well, that really kind of depends on is the pipe in a crawl space?
No, it's going right through the middle of your house, Seth.
Are there spiders? Okay. So, hey, we got to move on to the last one. We got about 2 minutes to work on this, and this is the risk trap. Hey, Ben, you want to grab that and give us a headline on that, and then see if we can wrap this up?
You know, this is probably the one hole that we have to dive through regularly with people who walk through our door for the first time, is understanding their risk. They never really have a clear concept of what risks they were taking. They've made changes through 2008 and the crisis, the financial crisis, after 9/11 or the Katrina, whatever the pullback in the market was, they keep making adjustments, and they still don't understand their real exposure. And I think that's the one thing is really trying to help people solve their needs. And that's what I really mean by needs, their income needs, guys, right? I mean, we sit down with them. We're like, this is what you need for income. This is what you want to accomplish with your kids. But we are literally boxed in by their ability to absorb risk. how do they feel about certain types of risks, certain types of investments, and so forth. So, we meet people all the time. We had some clients, they were actually hand-me-down clients, I think, but at the end of the day, we showed them 5 different things they should be doing. And at the end of the day, they really just wanted some fixed returns. That was really their risk.
They wanted safety.
They wanted and they didn't want just safety. They wanted hardcore, straight to the bucket, nose, insured safety. And that was, hey, that's fine. If that's when we really barreled down to it, they just were tired of risk. And that's probably the number one thing is the risk trap is understanding what people really want. We have been successful in the stuff we've done for many, many years, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we think. It doesn't matter what we hope to accomplish. It doesn't matter how much, how much we think this would be a good fit for them. It's really trying to understand their needs.
They have to feel comfortable when it comes down to it.
John, what do you say?
What I say is that these 5 retirement landmines that we've talked about are extremely important to assess in your personal situation. And there are ways in which we can help minimize those retirement landmines. We can't get rid of them altogether, but there are definitely some things that we can do and some strategies that we can follow that can help people access their dollars in perhaps a cheaper fashion than what they might have been doing if they did it on their own. And so there's different strategies and ideas that we can talk to you about that. And we'd love to have that opportunity to be able to sit down with folks and be able to share with them strategies that will help them keep more of their hard-earned dollars in their pocket and really put a game plan together to help address those retirement landmines and to help avoid those whenever possible.
Folks, Ben, did you have something else?
Oh, I was just going to say, we deal with so many of these landmines all the time, and this is just a drop in the bucket of the stuff we do, and not to scare anybody again, but when you're sitting down trying to figure out why am I still afraid of my portfolio, why am I still afraid of our outcome in having successful retirement, that's when you need to call us. I'm sure you're probably working with somebody good, this, that, and the other thing, but if you're sitting there in fear and concern constantly, and these traps are literally staring you in the eyes, you need to sit and figure out how to get through them, because this is what we do every day. That's just what I wanted to say, John.
Good stuff. We've got the access trap. We've got the transfer trap. We've got the risk trap, the Social Security trap, the tax trap. Folks, they all apply to us. We're looking out for you. And here's how you can get a hold of us is at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. It's been a lot that we've had to cover today. And if you can't tell yet, we're passionate about this. We love working in these areas. We love helping our clients, and we love helping you to be able to avoid some of these traps when it comes to you and your financial goals. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. Give us a call, folks. We look forward to meeting you in person and being able to help you navigate through a successful retirement. That's it for us at Money on Tap. It was a great time today, guys. I look forward to next week.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everyone.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of this radio station and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. No strategy, product, material, or tool mentioned can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information, products, materials, or tools mentioned should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. This show may be subsidized in whole or in part by a product sponsor or issuer. Securities and advisory services offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. All other services offered through Brayshaw Financial Group LLC are independent of SagePoint Financial. SagePoint Financial and Brayshaw Financial Group do not provide tax or legal advice. Main office is located at 116 South River Road, Bedford, New Hampshire, 03110, and can be reached at toll-free 855-226-8551.